So welcome everybody. It's now 12 o'clock and we start with our webinar on investing in MedTech. Welcome everybody who made it to this webinar. Really love to tell you about this interesting industry. And for that we have a great panel. We have Dr. Isabella Attinger-Toller. She's a CTO and co-founder of Auroris Biotech, and she recently sold her startup. And the valuation at the exit was a unicorn valuation. She's going to tell you how she made it from begin to exit. We also have Adrian Hunn. He's a director of the Swiss Medical Technology Association, and he will also join our panel and give his view from his association. And from industry, we have Beat Lechmann. He's director of R&D innovation at Johnson & Johnson in the subject field of MedTech. And we would love to hear about how do corporates do innovation and how do they collaborate with startups. And we have a fantastic moderator, Dr. Heiko Visarius. He's our rock star, and he will get all the interesting bits and pieces from our panelists. And before we dive into MedTech as a subject, I quickly want to say a few words about SICTIC. So SICTIC is an association which has the goal to connect founders with people that want to invest in their startups. And we are by far the largest such organization in Switzerland, also the most active one. Last year we had 120 investment rounds where our community was part of. In total, we've invested in more than 400 different Swiss startups and helped them to raise the first 1 to 2 million. And these startups have created more than 10,000 jobs over the last 10 years. Anybody who wants to invest can join us, and we select the best Swiss startups and put them on stage and into our digital deal flow tools. And what's the best for startups? It's completely for free. You just have to be good enough to make it on stage such that the jury selects you for a pitch. And yeah, if you consider investing, we're going to send you a follow-up newsletter. You can decide after the webinar, or you can join right now by scanning the QR code here. We also provide a lot of tools to help people that invest for the very first time. And one of the tools that we have is the Swiss Angel Investor Handbook. It's a free tool, 250 pages explaining the first steps to become an investor if you want to invest yourself. And if you have any questions, we now also have an AI assistant that you can ask all the questions in 35 languages, including German and French. And it will tell you what's in the book. So if you don't want to read the 250 pages, you can just ask the questions and you get the answers from the book. And this is for free. You get it as a PDF, and we're soon going to also print it again in the second edition, where we include a chapter on deep tech in addition to all the other content. And this should be available very soon. Cool. And with that, I also want to tell you we're going to do 2 investor days, which have the topic of MedTech and Health Tech next year. One will be together with Sitem-insel and the Sitem StartUp Club. That will be on March 17th next year in Bern. And we also plan a Health Tech Investor with Balgrist in Zurich in autumn. You're going to hear about the dates in a follow-up email from us, and we would love to see many of you, of course, joining. And with that, I would love to hand over to our moderator, Dr. Heiko Visarius.
Great. Thank you very much, Thomas, for the intro, and thanks for bringing this event together. It's a great pleasure for me to lead you through this webinar. I have also the honor to present to you the second organizer of this, which is the Sitem StartUp Club. It originates at the Insel campus in Bern. That's the largest hospital of Switzerland. And it's very special that everything is located on one campus. So the engineers can walk over to see the physicians, and even Adrian, who will speak later, has his office there. So everything is very close together. Sitem is a very strange abbreviation for Swiss Institute for Translational and Entrepreneurial Medicine. You don't have to remember that, but you should remember that this is a great location for MedTech startups to be in touch with all the collaboration partners that are existing. We have also a lot of investors and institutional members that support the startups. I'm not going to go into all the details of the program, but suffice to say we provide expertise and we provide access to investors, and we provide a location. These are the current startups that are in the program or have made the program. I think it's a great list. Feel free to connect if you like. And Gigetzik, our CEO, will be happy to give you insights. Good. Now, our healthcare system and the medical sector is in rapid transformation, as you know. We're hearing about digital health. We're hearing about AI, this and that, implantable devices, etc., etc. That makes it difficult for investors, as well as founders, as well as industry professionals, to really see through that. And it's our goal in the next hour to explore what is driving the medtech industry at this point and what are important aspects to consider when investing into medical technologies. I'm delighted to share the program that we have for you. We're going to have 3 input speeches by the speakers that Thomas just mentioned. I will introduce each one before they start and really have a unique webinar looking into 3 completely different perspectives. And then I will take over and run a panel discussion at the end. We also have some time for Q&A. So if you have a question from the audience, you can use it. You can ask your question directly. Good. So let's start. And we will start with Adrian Hunn. He comes with a background in social sciences and a postgraduate MBA from IMD. He spent about 15 years in the medical technology industry, was about a decade at Sonova, international hearing aid company, included also US experience, was then CEO of a dental implant company before he joined the Swiss MedTech Industry Association in June 2024, so a little bit over a year ago. So he brings his bridging view from industry, national policy, regulation, and innovation. Please welcome with a virtual applause, Adrian.
So thank you very much, Heiko, and good afternoon. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm representing Swiss MedTech, that's the National Swiss MedTech Industry Association, and our vision is actually quite simple. It's to ensure a strong and innovative and globally competitive MedTech sector in Switzerland. So I'm trying to move the slides. Maybe Julia, you have to give me again. So that would be helpful, or just turn the pages. Yes. Exactly. So who we are, we have about 800 members, and we're situated here in Bern at the Sitem. When we talk and like what we stand for network, know-how, and impact. That's like we organize the biggest network events for the MedTech sector in Switzerland, and we provide to our members. We provide actually know-how in terms of webinars like this, not like this, but other webinars, where we focus on U.S. tariffs or other hot topics like AI and MedTech or the new regulation in Switzerland. And we also have impact, which is more or less the political lobbying here in Switzerland. So MedTech means global impact. That's, diversity is our core strength. So by the way, Julia, it seems not to work. I always click on it, but I cannot move the slides. I'm really sorry about that. So please try again. Would be way easier if that would actually work. Like we support big multinationals like Johnson & Johnson, I'm representing by Beat Lechmann today, but also small startups. And I always tell you, MedTech products are from a simple Band-Aid to a surgical robot. We cover everything. And if you look at the sector is actually over 70,000 people are working in this sector. And it's over 500,000 different MedTech products, which are more or less used every day. and 12% of all the turnover is invested in R&D. And this sector becomes every day a little bit more important for the Swiss economy because we're growing sincere stronger than the general GDP in Switzerland. You know, sometimes 3 times stronger, sometimes 2 times stronger. So MedTech is an old traditional industry in Switzerland, which is growing. And if we talk about the trade surplus, which is not a very, you know, sexy word these days, if you listen to U.S. President Mr. Trump, but if you look at the Swiss trade surplus, Swiss MedTech industry is actually ranked 3rd. First, everybody knows that in the meantime, is actually pharmaceuticals. Second, a little bit more typical Swiss is actually Swiss watches. And then 3rd is the MedTech industry. That means Switzerland produces MedTech products for the entire world. And then if you look at job growth, it's actually, we were able to add 3% more jobs year over the last 12 to 15 years. Before that, I cannot tell you that because we didn't start measuring it. But in total, over the last 12 years, the MedTech sector added more than 20,000 jobs in Switzerland. That's quite remarkable. And if you look at our trading partners, in 2023, the MedTech industry had about 12 billion worth of exports. Number one, most single country was the US. Second was then in Germany. And, you know, like if you look at the trading partners, 50% of all the Swiss MedTech exports are going to the European Union and 25% are going to the US. If you combine that, you know, like the 2 main markets are actually the European Union and the US, and it's 75% in total. So what are the challenges on slide 11? The challenges we have, you know, like currently, of course, it's actually trade barriers, it's over-regulation, and it's certain obstacles to innovation. And how do we address that? So for Swiss MedTech, we developed the House of Strategy, and we focus on 4 main topics. So number 1 is market access. So we want to have the best conditions for Swiss MedTech companies to actually access global markets. The second one is innovation. The third is regulation. And the fourth, but not least, is reimbursement. So how do you get paid for the product you do? And, you know, like especially for startups, what we see in the MedTech sector, you have to cover in your business plan, you have to cover the regulation topic and the reimbursement topic, because you can have the best product everybody wants, but the big question is always who is going to pay for that. So if you didn't cover the reimbursement topic, you know, start over, do it. That is part of every business plan. The same with regulation. You know, in the past, it was easier just to finish the phase of product development and then think slowly about how to get certified. But this is not possible anymore. So your regulation pathway must be in the business plan. You need to figure that out. So everything we do focus around these 4 pillars. And to summarize that, you know, like we would like to have the best framework conditions here in Switzerland for the MedTech companies. And we also would like to give you know, like the companies, you know, like guidance and how to achieve that. So if you first focus on market access on slide 14, I already told you, you know, like if we focus, the export markets is the US and the European Union. And for the European Union, we conducted actually, we ask our members how they see the bilateral way going forward. And actually the mandate was pretty strong on slide 15. So the bilateral route is, you know, like 81% of our members said the bilateral route and the agreements with the European Union are very important. and more than 2/3 actually are supporting the additional, like framework package or additional bilateral 3 agreements we talk about, because we were one of the first industry that got more or less kicked out of the mutual recognition agreements in 2021, and that created quite a headache for the industry, and up to this day creates additional costs which are spent on bureaucracy, etc., and not on innovation as it should be. So if we talk about like innovation on slide 17, so we have 5 goals for innovation, and funny enough, the first goal is actually more about regulation than it's about innovation. It's we would like to simplify the medical device regulations, so we're working with MedTech Europe on that, and I can tell you I was never that confident that we're going to achieve that then in these days. Even by December there will be some proposals how to simplify the medical device regulation in Europe. The other thing is, of course, the MedTech industry would like to have back the mutual recognition agreement with the European Union. That will reduce cost and barriers of trade. And then also third, we would like to have FDA certified products recognized and be sold in Switzerland. On the last one, we're working for the last 5 years. We were never as close as today to actually make it happen. Then number 2 is promote more clinical trials in Switzerland. Then with the Swiss health data space, we would like to use secondary health data also for innovators so they can have access to this data. And of course, for startups, we would like to encourage funding here in Switzerland, especially for MedTech companies. And we're working with different partners to actually achieve that. And then market access topics are crucial. We're just launching a webinar on market access in China, India, etc. So these are the top 5 innovation goals. So when we go to regulation, some of it I already mentioned, like we're working that besides CE on slide 19, that CE also FDA recognized products are actually here in Switzerland and can be sold. So last but not least, reimbursement. We always talk like how expensive our healthcare system is getting in Switzerland, and everybody gets like a new forecast how their bills will be in 2026, and everybody knows the costs are actually rising. And we looked at what's what's the MedTech share in the total cost, and it's actually 8.2%. So of total healthcare cost in Switzerland, MedTech only, and I really say that only, is about 8.2%. So most of the cost increase in the healthcare system here in Switzerland is actually by volume. It's not by price. So, and then if you would look into the products that will be covered by the health insurance here in Switzerland, it will be less than the 8.2%, because as you can see, whole dentistry in Switzerland, that's paid out of pocket. And then if you look how this developed over time, slide 22, it came down the last couple of years. So, like all other costs were increasing at a steeper phase than actually MedTech cost. So in 2015, MedTech was over 9%. Now we're roughly at 8.2%. So these in terms of reimbursement, but of course, everybody has to do their share. But if I will be, in charge of to reduce healthcare costs, I wouldn't start with MedTech because it's already a low share and it's not getting as expensive or growing in expenses as the other times. So thank you very much. I apologize for, like the slide confusion. Like when we trained before, it worked pretty well. I could change my slide. And nevertheless, you have all the information when you receive the slide deck. And I'm looking forward to the panel discussion. Back to you, Heiko.
Thank you, Adrian. Great to get your perspective. We'll move right on to the second speech, which will be delivered by Beat Lechmann. Beat comes to us with an engineering background from the Fachhochschule Bern in micromechanics and a degree in industrial engineering. He has been from the early 90s with the AO and then moved to increasing responsibility roles in product development at Mattis Medical, which later became Synthes, which then was transferred into Johnson & Johnson. Since these days, I also know and value Beat Lechmann. He later moved then into the product development leadership in soft tissue solutions, now focused on early innovation in MedTech at Johnson & Johnson. So his position is officially titled Director R&D Innovation Trauma at Johnson & Johnson MedTech, early innovation partner. So basically, he is the go-to guy for MedTech companies that want to partner with the giant Johnson & Johnson. I think it's a fantastic setup that Johnson & Johnson is, because there's a real person you can talk to instead of writing at info@jnj.com, which never gets you anywhere. Note also that Beat's name is on over 40 US patents, so he has also a really deep experience, not only in the MedTech innovation, but also in developing product, very, very hands-on. I'm very glad he's with us today. Please give a big virtual applause to Beat Lechmann. Beat, you got to unmute.
Yeah, you can hear me now?
Yes.
So that's how we, Johnson believes to accelerate breakthrough innovation in healthcare. Briefly about Johnson & Johnson. We are the largest health tech provider on the world. We have a revenue of approximately $90 billion, and we invest 17 billions in R&D, in pharma, and in MedTech. We are totally more than 130,000 employees across the planet here. We have basically two sectors. One is the so-called innovative medicine, formerly known as pharma division, and the second pillar is MedTech, where we focus, and that's critical also to be remarked. We focus on preparation, prevention, intervention, and recovery, and some supporting technologies. We have extraordinary cross-sector approach in the interventional oncology. Now it's stuck also here. Got control, but it's... Yeah, so this is for your curiosity. That's the pharma focus area, but on MedTech, we have our strategic investment focus on biomaterial and infection prevention and tissue regeneration. But for this audience here, digital health, AI, machine learning, data analytics, advanced imaging and visualization, but also robotics and digital solutions in the 4 sub sectors: cardiovascular, surgery, and orthopedics, and vision care. So this is the critical strategic investment focus Johnson & Johnson wants to share with this audience here. Since we are the biggest healthcare provider, and we know that we cannot change or address all these challenges alone, we are looking for the most promising early innovations and partners who could benefit from our insights and collaborations. We know we cannot do everything on your own, so that's where we invest around the globe. So there is no US or Swiss privilege, but we really invest around the globe. There are four pillars in our investment arm where I'm part of. The first covers 4 innovation offices, one in London, one in Cambridge, Boston, and San Francisco, and Shanghai concludes at the 4 offices. In these partnering teams, we provide early stage startup and life science innovators with a single point of entry to Johnson & Johnson. We aim to make it easy for collaborators to connect with us. Over the past years, we have more than 550 licenses and collaborations in this ecosystem, and we spent more than 2.5 billion in license and collaboration upfront payments since 2015. Then we maintain also the strategic investment fund called JJDC. That's the Johnson & Johnson Corporate Venture Capital Organization with more than 50 years of experience. We are the longest running healthcare strategic investor in the world. We invest in MedTech and biotech innovation across stages and translational from new co-formation, seed, Series A, and beyond. We invested more than 3.5 billion since 2015 in more than 100 active portfolio companies. In the incubation sector, we maintain the J Labs. These are incubator areas. In Europe, we maintain a virtual model through different offices. And that's also where we can give the startup companies access to investors and other subject matter experts. And of course, to conclude here, we have the late stage partnership, the traditional business development. So we also open so-called open innovation challenges, or we call it quick fire challenges, where we set up calls around the globe for different topics. We have currently a innovation quick fire challenges focus on AI related to general surgery invention. That's just a running innovation challenge. So I try to advance again. So in interventional oncology, we try to build synergies between our oncology drug development and provide drug delivery systems out of global surgery to really bring the medicine to the spot in the anatomy where it's really needed. First and foremost focus is lung cancer, where we try to address the metastasis in the lung with bronchoscope and other robotic solutions. This is another slide to impress how strong Johnson & Johnson is operating in this area here, where we really can move the needle in the healthcare system. How you can partner with us, as Heiko mentioned, we have different partners, and I'm one of them out of 200. My focus is on MedTech in the EMEA region. So I'm your entrance door to Johnson & Johnson. We have other connections. You can follow us on Twitter and subscriptions for newsletters in the Change and Innovation ecosystem, but also for quick fire challenges. Thank you for your attention, and I'm giving back the floor to Heiko. Thank you.
Thank you, Beat. The entrance door to Johnson & Johnson. I think you just made 91 new friends here when I look at the participants, so get ready for it. Well, thank you so much. It's very important to see this look behind the scenes, and we'll get back to that in the panel discussion. But now we move to our success story. Very, very happy that we have Isabella Atingatola with us today. She has achieved what many are dreaming of. Actually, she has already 2 times witnessed an exit of a company. She comes to us with a master's in molecular biology from University of Basel and a PhD in tumor immunology from University of Zurich. Prior to founding her own company, she worked as director of pharmacology for Covagen, overseeing pharmacologic characterization of therapeutics in the preclinical development. The company then was acquired in 2014 by CELAC, which also belongs to the Johnson & Johnson empire. She's currently CTO and co-founder of Araris. It's a Swiss spin-out developing next generation ADCs. For those who don't know, ADCs are antibody drug conjugates, pretty hot topic in the biotech life science world. It's a class of drugs designed as a treatment for treating disease. So she has a tremendous experience in biotech, has partners with company all over, and she brings a startup view, but also will share with us a little bit the highs and lows of developing the startup and bringing it to a successful exit. Please welcome with a big applause, Isabella.
Thank you, Heiko. Thanks very much for the kind introduction. Dear attendees of this lunch webinar, and also thank you, Thomas and Heiko, for kind invitation, because it's out of topic. I realize it's really life science based what I'm going to tell you, but I'm really happy to share our 6-year journey from foundation to acquisition today. And yeah, I think Heiko did a good job in introducing me, so I don't have to do that again. So yeah, this is the title of my presentation today. So in March, actually, very closely 6 years and 2 months after the incorporation, we could announce the acquisition of Araris by Taiho Pharmaceuticals, which is actually a member of the Otsuka Group. So not only could our investors get an investment return of a multiple of at least 7, but it was also one of the 6 largest preclinical oncology transactions of all times, and the top 20 preclinical transactions ever. So we were very surprised by all these numbers, but we were also very proud. But yeah, as Heiko, as you said, it's not all went very straight. So what we have done in the last 6 years was raising 40 million in venture capital money to develop our technology, of which actually 3 programs will hopefully enter the clinic in the next 2 years. And Araris now is fully owned, a subsidiary of Taiho, but the whole team is still working at Taiho and Araris, and we are supporting the preclinical and clinical development of these 3 programs. But at the same time, we also help to develop the innovative cancer treatment pipeline together with the Taiho team. So I would like to show you what Araris is all about and why they wanted to pay so much for us. So we actually develop antibody drug conjugates. They are also called ADCs, which can be seen as biological missiles that eliminate cancers or also tumors selectively and spare the healthy tissue around them, which greatly reduces side effects known for standard chemotherapy. To date, there are 15 ADCs approved by the FDA, and an ADC, what it actually does is, it's shown on this picture. I don't know if you see my cursor, but you see an antibody, which is the blue scheme, and it recognizes the tumor specifically. What we do then is we hook up a toxin or a drug or a chemotherapeutic, and when we inject it into a patient, it finds the tumors where it's in the human body. So what the journey, of course, there are ADCs around, but the current ADCs actually have still some shortcomings, and they are actually the following. So current ADCs deliver one type of chemotherapeutic to the cell with one mode of action. This leads to resistance development and some ineffectivity of the drug. Further, cancer can consist of multiple cell types, and thus the response to one chemotherapeutic agent can be very heterogeneous, and this can lead to outgrowth and resistance development. Overall, these points also lead to a narrow therapeutic window, which means that the drug can not only be dosed high enough to be effective before it leads actually to unwanted side effects. So Araris developed a technology involving smart missile ADCs, how we call them, that deliver multiple synergistically acting chemotherapeutics to the cancer cells. So this leads to a higher efficacy, so higher anti-tumor response and less resistance development. They were more stable and tolerable at high doses in toxicity studies performed in different animal species. And we have shown that the therapeutic window is much broader. In other words, So the preclinical studies suggest that the ADCs that we have developed target tumors more effectively, and we can lower the doses, and thus they show a much better safety profile. So in the next slide, I would just like to show you how an ADC or an Araris ADC looks like, and I promise it is the closest to life science that we will get today. So an ADC consists of 3 parts. So first, you have the antibody, which brings the chemotherapeutic to the tumor. Then we have the drug, which can only also be 1 or 2 or 3 drugs or drug types. And 3, we have the linker. And actually, the linker is what is proprietary to Araris. And it's actually also the linker, which is crucial to keep the drug firmly attached to the antibody in the bloodstream, but also releases the payload once it's inside the tumor. And yeah, as I said, this was actually the basis of Araris. And in the next slide, I would also like to show you how Araris was founded, because this is, of course, the magic soup that it needs to found a company. So Philipp Speicher is actually the scientific inventor of the company, and he did his discovery at PSI as a postdoc, where he discovered that the Araris linker, and he also filed patents on it. In 2018, he actually met Dragan, who was a startup coach and the former CSO of Covagen that was introduced by Heiko before. And that biotech company was also sold to Johnson & Johnson. And of course, I knew Dragan from my time there, and I was about to come back from a stay abroad in Canada, and he approached me and asked me, hey, do you want to found a company? And I said, yes, why not? And that's actually how we sat together, discussed the science behind it and how we could set up a company. And actually, we found common grounds quite soon, and we incorporated the company in 2019. And as a founding company, we actually brought very different expertise together. So as I just briefly mentioned, Dragan Grabulowski, he also holds a PhD. He's actually a pharmacist and a protein engineer. But of course, he had a vast amount of entrepreneurial experience, and this was really essential for the company. Philipp, he is the inventor, and he is actually he was the founding CEO, excuse me, and he is actually a truly visionary scientist and extremely skilled networker in the scientific, but also in the venture capital community. So he knows everyone, and he also wanted to promote the whole story to everyone. So I think he was really crucial there. And I brought more the translational expertise. So after having been part of a big pharma diligences together with the Covagen and followed the integration to Johnson & Johnson, I could actually add a lot of expertise in the organizational part, how you set up a lab, how you actually perform experiments such that you can afterwards meet the expectations of your potential future collaboration partners. But of course, we all know that biotech in particular requires a lot of funding. And I just wanted to outline a bit how this worked in our case. So the team raised all in all around 40 million from leading global investor syndicate over the 6 years, and how this was kind of stepwise distributed. Philipp Speicher actually received non-dilutive funding from PSI in form of a founder fellowship, and also from InnoSwiss and VentureKick. That's actually helped to kickstart or to do a small proof of concept to show that his idea works. And it actually helped us a lot to also attract afterwards our partners. So we then went on and did our venture capital funding round, and a seed round that was actually led by Red Alpine, Schröder, Advec, VI Partners in 2019, and we closed it in 2020, joining Boreus Bioventures for capital, B2B ventures, and all the former investors, which was actually quite remarkable because you remember that COVID was then, and we were told once that next week our ETH labs would close down. We had no idea how we could work forward. So though I have to say ETH was very kind and we could get special permits, but yeah, it was a very, very tough year with a lot of uncertainty, but we managed. And then it was followed by an additional financing round in 2022, where we actually added 2 investors and also one that was actually very interested in our lead candidate that is now entering the clinic as a first program. And in 2023, we actually also applied for non-dilutive funding by the Swiss Accelerator Grant, where we got quite a significant amount of money to push forward some of our initiatives in the CMC development, which helped us enormously to actually get the data that were then crucial for the acquisition. And also Samsung Venture, they joined as an investor. So as I said, in total, it was roughly 40 million that we needed to show the proof of concept. And the data that we actually generated using these funds included the 3 programs that I told you before, and also the data that we presented at multiple scientific conferences raised really a substantial interest from pharma industry, and we could actually enter in a research collaboration first with Taiho, and then we could also announce research collaboration option agreement with Chugai, Roche, and also with Johnson & Johnson. That was actually published in 2025. And I think what is also worth to mention is that, yeah, the acquisition was actually based on data that we generated during a collaboration. And I think the trust and also, you know, the interactions that we had there were really crucial for them to embark on this acquisition. And I would also like to close, of course, to mention what I think the contributors of our success were. And I think really the most important one is our top team. It's really hugely dedicated and resilient to many ups and downs. Yeah, you know, in science, science is, we had a lot of pushbacks in terms of data, but we always found a solution as one team. And I think we all believed in the strength of our technology, and we were also quite brave when we increased the innovative risk of our platform by adding more drugs to one ADC. As you see, we started with one type of drug and we increased it to 3, even though experts from the pharma said that they will never be ready for that. So now we are not the only one now. So I think 3 years later, we actually got the proof that it was a good idea to do that. And we couldn't have gone without our knowledgeable and really very supportive investor syndicate who always believed in the strength of our technology and also in our programs. So with that, I just wanted to line out the future very briefly. So as you say, our future is now Araris together with Taiho. We are a wholly owned subsidiary and we are all dedicated. So the whole team is still there. We are all dedicated to support the programs and research to see our first programs enter the clinic and hopefully succeed. The collaboration so far is really positive, and Araris can contribute with its ADC expertise and the Araris linker technology to the pipeline development. But we are also, of course, remaining open to partner the technology with other interested parties. So with that, I would like to give you a warm thank you for listening. I'm really happy to take questions if there are any. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Isabella. Yes, we'll get back to the question in the panel discussion. Thank you very much. So now, to some questions that I have for you guys and girls. Adrian, I start with you. You gave us a market perspective and a list of things that you could theoretically lose your sleep about. What is in the top 1 or 2? So what are the key things that you believe are critical to figure at the moment in the MedTech sector? What do you expect now in 2026, maybe?
You know, like the number one is actually pretty easy. That you know, like it's U.S. tariffs and the announced Section 232 investigation, also against MedTech products. You already know that from the pharmaceutical industry. Now it's also covering MedTech, besides steel and copper, etc. Because you know, like 39% tariffs, it's already like something to digest, and we're all waiting kind of a trade deal. But there were still quite a bit of exceptions possible for MedTech companies. And now with this Section 232, so these exceptions could be, could go on away. So that's number one. And
for that, are we having a communication channel? Are we talking to our friends across the ocean?
You have to admit, yes, I know we're talking, but I don't know what they're talking about, to be honest. You know, like so we were way more involved from April to August, what's going on and how close we are on the trade deal. And I think, like they're a little bit, like burned in terms of what the outcome was on August 1st. So they're like the official government in Bern is actually keeping it very tight and very close. So that's definitely number one. And we're trying to support, like the MedTech industry here in Switzerland as good as it gets, and with all the information we have.
Great, thank you, Adrian. Beat, a follow-up question to your nice presentation of the corporate partner perspective. So we have a lot of investors and a lot of startups in the audience of this call. So what can the startups do to look attractive? I mean, you shared that Johnson & Johnson is a massive investor into early stage innovation over the years. So what is it that Johnson & Johnson, and also maybe you personally, what are the first things you look at when a startup knocks at your door, which probably happens once a day minimum?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I think if I reflect what happens over the past couple of years, my mailbox says 97% no thank you. And so we are really on a strategic focus, as I highlighted, and you should approach us with a proof of concept on supporting an unmet clinical need. So we do not look for technology pushes just because something is doable. We are not interested. We want to address an unmet clinical need with a clear pathway into market access. We can help you then building the journey with investments, with expertise towards the market access on a global basis. So that's the other thing. We do not invest just in a local opportunity. We want to have the outlook with a global perspective, including all the regulatory opinions around the globe. It doesn't mean that everybody needs to have an answer to every single regulatory question, but it should be at least an elaborated regulatory opinion for the major markets.
Yeah, from probably one of these many consultants that are around that also support startups, also through the InnoSwiss program, to give a little jingle here. Thank you. I'll get back to you with more questions in a second. I want to announce that we're going to do a quick poll of the audience, so don't be surprised when something pops up. This is for the participants. Isabella, absolutely amazing journey. So how did you handle all these topics on when to invest, where to invest, which investor to get on? Did you have a choice? Did you have to take what was coming along? Was there discussions along the lines of, let's not get diluted so much? I mean, 40 million in my coordinate system for a pharma company or biotech company doesn't look so much, right? So how did this story go ahead?
Yes, you're right. It's not so much, but yeah, we're also preclinical stage still. So I think for that, it probably was a good sum to be with. But we couldn't have gone without any addition any further. So you asked about how did we choose. So I think we were always keeping investors, be it local ones, but also worldwide, updated on our progress. So as I said, in all the meetings, scientific meetings, we would have our contacts at for big pharma, rather bigger ones, because yes, as a biotech, you need to increase to a substantial sum. So we always had investors that had also a big pockets to also stay with us and then also increase their finance or their shares once the progress is even further. So I think, yeah, we wanted to spread it. And I think in the end, we really had a syndicate where we knew it was also a lot of scientific knowledge behind. So they knew what they were actually investing in. I think this was probably how we tried to also make the whole team complete.
Good, great, thank you very much. Adrian, back to you. So you said you made this very nice remark about FDA, and you say we're closer than ever. Okay, so we're just among us here in the small circle, pressed for a best guess. What are we looking at? Years or decades or months?
You know, like the closest I can get is probably month. You know, like in an ideal scenario, we're talking about, you know, like just for MedTech products, so that we're clear. We're not talking about pharmaceuticals here. It would be, you know, like in 2027.
Yeah. And it would be quite a sensation, right? Because I think it's fair to say that Switzerland is the only country in Europe or probably anywhere or US accepting the FDA for market access. Is that right?
You know, like I cannot talk about the whole world, but in Europe for sure. And I think what it makes it quite unique and probably, you know, like really unique in terms of doesn't exist anywhere else in the world is that it accepts at the same time CE and FDA certified products. You know, like not a pathway how we can get to a local certification, but you would have it immediately, which, you know, like I think for the ecosystem, the MedTech ecosystem in Switzerland is it could be quite important. And because where would you build your like European headquarters if you can already start to sell your products, you have access to great talent, and you're in the middle of Europe, and you know the taxes are also not too high, then you know Switzerland comes to mind.
Exactly. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Beat, also behind the scenes questions for you. So I saw that you sank or invested billions into startups and innovative therapies. Is anybody at Johnson & Johnson also measuring the outcome or the impact? Just among us.
I doubt. So it's not a yes or no among us. I doubt. I think it's so complex, and also the part Isabella just shared through the earlier one through Covagen. I don't know where it lands. It's so complicated. It's so. I just give you an example. I integrate now a digital solution. We need to go through 10 different finance streams until every company gets their share internally. So I doubt that we can really overlook the success of individual transactions.
Yeah, I imagine. We have a lot of SICTIC investors in the call. So, I mean, obviously, these are guys very often with an IT background. That's why they're in Swiss ICT Investor Club. What is it that you would advise them to look into when they look at a startup? So you already mentioned the regulatory opinion. I mean, I always say wealthy people are wealthy because they understand finance quite well, so they probably get that covered. Beyond regulatory and finance, what should these investors look at?
Well, I think it would be also wise to look for a strategic match. So I can speak now for Johnson & Johnson. So we in MedTech, we build that's publicly known. We build 3 different robotic or backbone systems, one in orthopedics and one in thoracic surgery and one in global surgery. So where would be a best match? We build ecosystems about the robot data flow, monitoring, patient companions, etc., etc. There will be some analytics, medical image interpretation or reading, or AI tools around that. So look out through our websites, what's published, attend investors meeting where we appear, like the Tech Tour or the SACS meetings. Talk to us. We can guide you through the jungle of Johnson & Johnson.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. Isabella, Taiho, did you know them before? Did you find them in the telephone book? How do you find such an exit partner?
Yes, no, we had a collaboration with them. So they approached us after a conference that they are interested in using our technology. And we had a project. We actually generated 3 ADCs for them. And honestly, we say that our chance of not succeeding is actually 1 out of 20. And actually 2 out of their 3 didn't work really well. So we did a lot of troubleshooting. And I think the communication that we built up and also how we approached this and that it in the end worked, I think that was convincing to them. And I think that's now, one of them is actually now moving into the pipeline. So yeah, I think it's building trust and...
And the team, as I understand from your slides, the team is going to stay on. Was that an obligation, or are you also thrilled about Araris, or how is that?
It was not an obligation. They expressed a high wish to keep everyone. And they also, during diligence, they asked us, hey, what can we do to keep you all? Because we need your expertise. They kind of bought our expertise into the company. And now, yes, we actually are quite thrilled to stay because they treat us really well. We do things together. And since we can contribute to their pipeline now, even innovate our linker technology more, this is really motivating for every one of us. So yes, no, yeah, it's just a good package for us.
Okay. Good. Thank you for answering the questions. Before I take questions from the audience, maybe SICTIC team, can you show us the results of the poll? There we go. So we have a good mix of investors and startup founders and representatives of the ecosystem. Of which 40% are already invested in MedTech. Well, that's awesome. So startup CEOs, listen up. So you have real investors that put real money into real startups. That's really a good thing to have. And it's not so easy to meet these people. So I think this is really fantastic that SICTIC and Sitem StartUp Club are providing this platform so you can exchange and get to know the viewpoints. Great. So we have a few minutes left. So there's one question in the Q&A of the Zoom tool. Are there questions from the audience? Anybody wants to speak up? While you still think about it, I'll try. It's a long question from Ruby. So the question, it probably goes to Adrian. With India and EFTA's trade and economic partnership agreement in force now, what would it take for Swiss MedTech companies to focus on exporting medical devices to India? That's a short version of the question. And then also probably a similar thing with Mercosur agreement on the way. Gotta unmute.
You're muted, Adrian.
Unmute.
Thank you very much. So I'll try to make it short. Of course, you have to cover a market access route. So you need to have a local certification in India. By the way, we are just offering in the coming month a webinar about that from Swiss MedTech to cover that. So that's part of it. How do I get my product certified? And second is, of course, the market. And there it really depends what kind of product you have. But it's always the best recommendation. Book a trip to India, talk with as many people as possible, and talk with potential customers and figure out where does your product actually go. With Mercosur, it's potentially a little bit different. Some of them are more, let's say, more mature markets for MedTech. so far prohibited by huge tariffs, which can go away now with the Mercosur agreement. But it's also, like cover the basics. What's the market access route in terms of certification, and how does the market look like? And also where is the price level? Does it make sense, to do access?
Great. Yeah, and we already saw how we can find Beat Lechmann. I presume it's the same thing with you. You're open for questions, even also from startups, from SMEs, also potentially from investors, for all these topics revolving around these issues that pertain to the MedTech industry, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So.
Good. So Adrian, Beat, very reachable for everybody in the audience if question. Well, thank you all very much. I mean, I think it was fantastic to get the overview from Thomas, what SICTIC is doing. I hope I could show you a little bit what Sitem StartUp Club is doing. I really want to thank the three panelists for preparing the lecture, giving the lecture, and being available for question. It was a great pleasure for me to moderate this event. Some of you I will probably see later this week in the upcoming events of Swiss MedTech or at Startup Nights and Winter Tour, the next event this week. So I wish you all a good rest of Monday afternoon. And once again, thank you very much, SICTIC and the team, for making it happen, and the panelists. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Heiko. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.